We are in the expert mode. I have the layers panel open down here. I have the type tool selected here, and I do have my tool options open. Now count these bad boys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 different tools. We're going to talk about every one of them. The first one is horizontal type. The next one is vertical type. These two are horizontal and vertical masks, making selections with text. This one is actually called text on selection. This one is text on a shape, and this one's text on a path that you make. Over here is the font name. You can click here and see the different fonts. You say, whoa, man, you got really neat samples. I like that. Mine are smaller. Well, check this out. If you are on a Macintosh, go up here and click here. If you're in Windows, go to Edit and go to Preferences. In Preferences, go down to Type. Font preview size, we've got everything from huge to small, and the default is medium. So you might not see them that big. If you want them that big, go for it. I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of here, get back in. So I can click here, and I can choose a different font, either after I've typed it or before, it doesn't matter. But if you know what the name of the font is, and you don't want to spend 3 days scrolling for it, type it in, like Edwardian script. ED, there it is. Now down here, you have the font size. The font size, the last one I used was 322.04. I like that it remembers that. And you have standard 6 through 72. 72 point is 6 pica or 1 inch. So if I go 72 in print, it should be 1 inch or 6 pica. And you can change that either by the standards, or you can type a number in right here. And I'm going to show you a third way to do it in a minute. Over here, you've got styles like italics and things like that. Some fonts have them, some don't. This one doesn't have any. But you do have a false or a faux bold italic. You have an underline and a strike through, left, center, right justification. Change the color right here. Leading is a space between lines. Over here you have 2 more buttons. This one will convert vertical text to horizontal or vice versa if it's already typed. And this one opens up something called type warp. We'll talk about that too. Down here is anti-aliasing. Now that softens the edges of things to make them look more natural against a background on a computer that's made up of pixels. However, when you're working with very small text, it can actually work against you and make the text be harder to read. So to me, it's not about a number. I look at it, and if I don't like it, I'll turn it off. If I like it, I'll leave it on. Now let's put some text up here. Let's go just simply in this lesson, this tool right here, the plain old left to right horizontal type. I'm going to come over here and click. Watch what happens over here. It creates automatically a type layer. I'm going to type in the word life, L-I-F-E. Now that's a whole lot smaller than I want it to be. So if I select it, I can come over here and say, well, I don't want any of the ones that I see, even this one. So I come over here, I can type it in, say 200. Let me show you another way, because sometimes to me, it's not about a number, it's what I want to see. So I'm going to commit right here. When you do, it takes you to the selection tool, which is where I want to be. Now you will notice when I come over here, I don't get that familiar bounding box, do I? Well, you see, I've turned that stuff off. And here it is. We've been working with it the whole time. With text, it's kind of hard to see the text if you got that on. So I turn these off. Now, how do you get that stuff back if I want to resize that text, which is what I want to do? Well, there is a shortcut. If you have that layer selected and you go up to the word image on the pull-down menu and go to transform, you have a free transform option. Command T on a Macintosh, Control T in Windows. So I use the shortcut because it's faster. And there's the Command or Control T. Now I get it back temporarily. I make it bigger. I decide what I want. You say, well, yeah, I want it right about there maybe. Commit. And now it's bigger. It's what I want. Now I'm going to move that up to about here for now. I need another type line. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to come over here and click somewhere way over here. Now the next words or phrase isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. Now, the font is about maybe close to what I want. Maybe I want that a little bit bigger. I'm going to worry about that in a second. I need a different font. That's hard to read. So I'm going to select it up here. And we can go in here if you want to see all the different samples that we have. Courier, monotype right here, Cursiva. I kind of like that one. That kind of makes it easier to read, but it's too big. So I'm going to use my trick again here. I'm going to press Control or Command T, which gives me the box around it. I'm going to move it over first because I want it to be ending right about here. And I'll go, say, over here, and let's bring that in a little bit. Now, don't forget, we're not even anywhere near close to 100%. We're viewing this at 14%. 14%. Let me go ahead and click the checkbox right here. Now, I don't like the font color. We have to change that too because it's kind of hard to read, or we need to move it, one of the two. But the word life, I want to change the color of the word life. And there's a couple of ways we can do that. Let's go back into our typing tool here. If we select that layer up here, we come over, we can double click to select the text. So we can come over here and we can select a color here. And it will be more than glad to change the color. But here's another trick. I kind of want one of the colors that maybe are in her umbrella. The word life kind of matches her umbrella. So what I'm going to do is pick up my eyedropper tool. And while we're on the eyedropper, you have a point sample, a 3x3 average, and think 3 down and 3 across, that's 9, or 25, 5x5. I usually like to do an average rather than one single tiny pixel. So I'm going to do an average of 3x3. Now, all layers are current layer. In my case, it doesn't really matter. If I were on that layer, I could select it. But since I have life selected, I do want to be on all layers. So I'm going to come over here and click on our umbrella, and I get that red. Now, how do I change it? Well, here's a trick. During these classes, we've done something. We have used a shortcut to fill an area with the current foreground color. And we've used on a Mac, Option Delete, and in Windows, Alt Backspace. Use that combination. You can change it automatically. Now, that's kind of hard to read, so maybe if I come down a little bit and get a little bit of that darker color, and let's try that. That's a little bit better. We'll leave it there for now. And again, remember, we're not really looking at this at 100%. Now, this down here, I think I want either a different color. Let's try this. Let me pick up my Move tool. Let me go ahead and move that a little bit down, say to about here. Let's pick up this other layer, and let's move this one down. It would be easier to read down here, wouldn't it? I'll tell you what, I'm going to put it right there. And I'm going to pick up this layer again. Now remember, I don't have Auto Select Layer on. Do I have to keep coming back over here and clicking and selecting it that way? And the answer is no. If you want to auto select a layer temporarily without coming over here and turning this on, is you go to the layer you want to select, like those words, hold down the Control key, that's the Command key on a Mac control in Windows, and click, and it will be more than glad to make the selection for you. Now I want another line similar to that one, same font, same size. So why reinvent the wheel? Hold down the Alt key, Option key on a Mac, Alt in Windows, and make a copy. Let's put it right about there for now. Double click on it, and it'll take you right back. So the next line is, it's about learning to. Let me commit here. The last line I want in probably the same color as life, and I want it bigger, and I want it down here. So again, why reinvent the wheel? Let's come up here. Let's hold down the Control or the Command key and click to get that layer. Hold the Alt key, Option key on a Mac, and bring that down like this. Make a copy. Double click on it. Let's change that to Dance in the Rain. That's a little bit too big. We'll handle that in a second. Let me select it this way. Now I can come in here again and try. 72 is going to be way too small. I could play around with it again over here. Now let me try 200, which is nice, but I want it bigger. I prefer doing it the way I talked about, using the Control-T shortcut, Command-T, Control-T, and coming over here and going to a corner and doing it this way. Now I think I like the font but not the color. So let's do it the old-fashioned way. Let's go in here. Let's pick it up, select it, come down here, and see if we can get away with black. Okay, so life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain. If you look at this, let me go ahead and double-click on the Zoom tool. This is life size. Whenever you're making a final decision on whether you like it or not before you print it, look at it at 100%, because you're never really going to know how good it's going to look or how bad it's going to look until you see it at 100%. Now, we're in a handicap, if you will, because we have a smaller monitor that we have to work on. But we've got life. Isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain. We could move that around. We could reposition it someplace else. Might actually be better over here because it's lighter. There are other things that we could do to this to help it out. So I'll tell you what. Let's save this. Let's go up here and click the little close button, and it won't let us get by without saying, do you want to save it? And we do. That's going to save it as an edited 1 PSD in 7. That's exactly what we want. Click Save. Okay, there you go.